Yeah, I think there'll be some things that a lot of UNLV people and the players can be excited about that will showcase some things that that we've done in the past. So I think everybody's really excited for the game to come out. And you know, whether you're young, old, whatever, I think everybody's a little excited for just because the game hasn't been out in so long. So
yeah.
I think everybody's a little fired up for it.
On a lighter note, I don't know, like 4 weeks into the season, you guys are averaging like 37 points a game. If I come to you and say, hey, coach, I'm running the go-go with your personnel and on the EA college football, I'm averaging 48 per game. What are you going to say to me?
Well,
are you going to say it's maybe not the same as a video game? Real life is not the same, dude.
No doubt. The AI is a little bit different than the actual the humans running it.
Well, I got to tell you, and we had a chance to talk. The media did, and I was there talking to you about the offense and what was going to happen during the offseason. And I think I don't know why it didn't process, but like every year is different. And one of the things that I was kind of impressed by is the fact that you guys had this great year last year, and then when you were talking during the summer, you're like, yeah, we got to be better, and we got to change things up, and we got to have new looks, and then you have new personnel. I mean, how much of the offseason is just coming up with new stuff and adding it to the old stuff, and then making sure the guys know what's going on? I assume you want to add a bunch of new wrinkles.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we felt like we came up short last year, so what we did wasn't, ultimately didn't reach our goals of lifting up the trophy like we wanted to do. So, we looked at, every year it's a new team. We had new players come in, we had players leave, and we're just trying to put our guys in the best situation to get us to the, to the big game and be able to lift up the trophy at the end of the season. So we're going to do everything possible to get that done and put our guys in the best position and, utilize their skill set. So, if that takes changing things and changing personnel and, whatever it takes to get that accomplished, that's what we're going to do as a staff.
I always wondered this about being a coach. You plan, you have a whole off season, you plan all this stuff, you're ready to go. What happens when something doesn't work? Like, is there a panic that sets in? Like when you have to make an adjustment, something like that, or you have to throw an entire plan out the window?
No, I think, you have a lot of, quality coaches in the room who have been multiple places, who have had a lot of success. So I think there's definitely a quiet, still confidence in the room that we know if we can, communicate as a staff together and come up with a plan and, coach a kid a little bit better on how to execute the play, we can get the job done. So we'll always just come together collectively as a group and then try to give it to the kids the best way to communicate in their language so we can go, take care of business.
UNLVtickets.com to get your UNLV football tickets. There's single game tickets, mini packs of 3 games. Season tickets are still available. Last year, the offense, the go-go, was unreal under Brennan Marion, and he's on Cofield and Company right now. How much time do you spend, during an offseason thinking, hey, now teams are really going to game plan to stop Ricky White? What do you come up with to make sure that, hey, Ricky's going to get the ball and maybe get the ball in different spots than he did a year ago?
Yeah, to his credit, I mean, I don't think Ricky White has patted himself on the back yet for what he did last year. I think it actually made him more hungry to accomplish more things and do more things. I mean, he's at a point now where we have to tell him to stop working out. So, all those guys, Jacob DeJesus, Casey Kane, I mean, those guys have been working their tails off. So, I don't think it'll be so much of, when you see a great receiver in the NFL, they don't just completely change the game plan. I mean, yes, we'll motion and shift and do different things to put them in advantageous matchups, but, we're going to still, give our best players the ball. We're not going to, change from that.
Seems like there's a lot of excitement in town, probably the most excitement since I've lived here as far as going into a UNLV football season. How great will it be to be able to showcase yourself? You got a lot more Friday games, a lot more people watching. Is it an exciting feeling?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the biggest thing for me is like for the kids, they should, when you talk about the Vegas community, right now, sports are blowing up here and there's a lot of great things, going on in Vegas, and it would be great for our kids to see Vegas come out and support them in full, and fill the stadium up and pack the stadium to see, all their hard works and the fruit of their labor in front of people. I mean, that would be what we all want. We all want them to have a big time football, environment so they can go out there and put on a show and give the fans what they came to see.
You mentioned Casey Kane. You have experience being around Casey Kane. Why did you want Casey to come over from Texas to join you guys?
Yeah, he's a lot like, when we brought Vince Davis here last year from Pitt. He's a guy who's been on a winning team. He understands what the winning culture looks like. He's a guy who has a great skill set. He's a guy who loves football and is going to do everything possible to help the team win. And, Casey's always just been a great kid, coming from Louisiana. And, he works his tail off and he creates, kind of that, a little bit of laughter in the room, a little bit of that atmosphere that you need. You need to have some fun guys in there that work their tail off and love football. And he's one of those guys that, really fits what we do, culturally and, with his on the field skill set.
UNLV offensive coordinator, Brennan Marion, up with Cofield and company. The running back mix, a little bigger room now. We talked to Cornell Ford last week and just some of the things you guys can do. I'm sure there was some intent behind this from, freshmen to transfers. Everyone's a little bit bigger with these new additions.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, last year when you looked at us, we were able to run the ball downhill a little bit. Now we have, we create a little different feel with some guys that are bigger and they can catch and they can run a little harder, and, no disrespect to the guys we had last year. I thought we had, a great talented group last year as well. And I think we'll have the same, element this year. We got Jet coming back who, is that one play touchdown guy for us, and, adding some bigger backs with him will really, really help us down the road.
The question everyone's looking to be answered, and I'm not sure it's going to be answered at the beginning of the season or it may take a while, is what's going to happen at quarterback. And, last year I asked you because, I was kind of learning about the go-go offense and, I figured, hey, you want the edge with the quarterback every once in a while. I remember asking you, hey, is, 6'5" and 6'4" quarterbacks, are they really the ideal guy for the position? Mayavi did a great job last year after Brumfield got hurt. So tell us about the abilities of both Sluka and Haj Malik. And I know Friel's in the mix, but they're a little smaller, but we know that they can get downhill. What does that do for you offensively now in the go-go where now you can get a quarterback outside and maybe run all of what you want?
Yeah, I wouldn't know if I would call those guys small. I mean, those dudes are
they're not. But they're not 6'5". They're not 6'5", and they're runners, and they're good
they're
runners.
Not 6'5", but they're definitely some decent sized, football players in their own right. But I tell people all the time, everybody asks about the quarterback, and it's going to be like NASA. You're just going to see, you're going to see when the rocket goes up in there. So I'm not going to talk about it too much, but I think they've done a good job of, immersing themselves in our culture, getting to know the playbook, getting around the guys, immersing themselves in the community, trying to just be, what a quarterback's supposed to be, be the point guard of the team. They're trying to learn everything. They're trying to do everything the right way. They're trying to please their coaches. And they've done a great job. So it'll be fun this summer as we, conclude summer and get into the season.
What's it going to be like for you, offensive game planning, when you look around the league? And I have to look the official number of new DCs, but I'm assuming because there's over a half dozen new head coaches, there's a lot of new DCs. Is that an advantage for you, or do you go into some of these games, you're like, well, we're going to have to do some real deep diving to find out what they ran somewhere else or what they want to run? How do you deal with all these new defensive coordinators?
Yeah, I don't really know if it's so much the scheme. Right now, it's more of, when you're dealing with the transfer portal, it reminds me a lot of, being a junior college player, a lot of the roster turnover of seeing who the new pieces are going to be. A lot of these teams have flipped their rosters or their rosters have drastically changed, so now it'll be really for us trying to gather as much information on every team, seeing what players they have, what their skill sets are, and then how are they going to fit into the scheme of who the new defensive coordinator is. But, just knowing who those people are is very important for us as we move forward.
Brennan Marion's with us, UNLV offensive coordinator, Salerno, Cofield. I want to go back to the Kane thing for a second. And back-to-back years, you've leaned on some guys that you had experience with in the past at all these different stops. Do you? I assume the staff has a rolling list. Do you personally have a rolling list of, kids you've coached before or that you recruited? Is there something behind the scenes where you have like a master list where you're like, hey, down the road we may need players at these positions? I assume that you must have some sort of database or data bank, right?
Yeah, I think everybody kind of just, right now, the climate that we're in, I mean, you kind of have these relationships that last. And it's the same thing in recruiting. When you get a guy from a certain place, you knew a guy or you helped a guy in the past previously, And he's like, man, I'd really love for this guy to come play for you because what you did with the last guy, you know? And so that's kind of just how it works now in recruiting in this new landscape of, you know, transfer portal and, you know, just dealing with that stuff. So, you know, just trying to keep, you know, those relationships and things rolling as you continue to climb and change. And, you know, everything changes every day kind of now, right now in college football.
Back to the quarterback thing. We got to see Haj Malik, you know, a little bit in practice and then at the spring game. So you guys got a pretty decent idea of what he can do. What have you seen so far from Matthew Sluka, who, you know, didn't get to play in the spring, wasn't in the spring game?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, when you said small, I was thinking of him when you said small. And I mean, that dude he's cut up. He's a big dude. I mean, he's probably 215, 220. So he's a strong kid, you know, and really has a unique skill set. So this summer we just been looking at him and just seeing what he can do and just trying to, you know, get a good picture of what it looks like and when he's going to get an opportunity to actually, you know, go out there and camp and compete. So, you know, just really just evaluating and assessing the guys. You know, how do they learn? You know, how can we teach them better? You know, what are the things that they've done in the past? Anytime you talk about transfer players, you want to, you know, this is same as, you know, some of the stuff is same as what you've done in the past, you know, so it's not too overwhelming for them as they, you know, learn a new playbook and new concepts.
At 6'3" and say 220, dude rushed for what, 2,700 yards combined the last 2 seasons. What does he do to run so well? Like, what's his style?
I think he's just, you know, he's got a lot of New York in him. You know, that's what I say. I mean, he's got a lot of just, you know, I'm a prove to you, I'm a tough guy. Like, you know, I think all our quarterbacks have something to prove, have a little chip on their shoulder. And I think, you know, obviously with his lacrosse background, he's used to maneuvering and running and making plays, you know, because he played lacrosse in high school at a high level. So, you know, that's just something that he, you know, brings that comes with him and that he's used to doing, he's comfortable doing.
So